Hi friends, we are going to begin with Biot-Savart law. The magnetic field due to a steady line current which is carrying a current I at point P is given by B is equal to mu naught I by 4 pi integration dl cross r hat upon r square, and this is the Biot-Savart law. This can also be written as mu naught I by 4 pi integration dl sine theta upon r square, where this dl is an element along the length of the wire and r is the vector distance from the source to the point P. This mu naught is called as the permeability of free space, and mu naught is equal to 4 pi into 10 raised to minus 7 Newton per ampere square. The unit of magnetic field is Tesla. This is the SI unit, and the other unit is a CGS unit, which is equal to Gauss. So Tesla is 10 raised to 4 Gauss. Tesla is a larger quantity. 1 Tesla is also equal to Newton per ampere meter. Let's first consider wire. If we had a wire of finite length and we had to find the magnetic field at, let's say, this point P, which is at the perpendicular distance S from this wire, and this wire is carrying a current I, then the magnetic field at that point will be equal to mu naught I by 4 pi S sine theta 1 plus sine theta 2, where theta 1 is this angle and theta 2 is this angle, since it is a finite wire. If we had infinite wire, or the length of the wire was infinite, then what will be the magnetic field? In this case, theta 1 and theta 2 both will become 90 degrees, and sine 90 is 1. Then the formula will reduce to mu naught I by 4 pi S into 1 plus 1, that is 2, which comes out to be mu naught I by 2 pi S. Now at the edge of a semi-infinite wire, we had the wire which is semi-infinite, that means it goes on from here, it starts from here, and we have to find the magnetic field at this edge at a distance S, and again it is carrying a current I. Then theta 1, you can see, will become, for this case, theta 1 will be equal to 0 and theta 2 will be equal to 90 degree. Sine 0 is 0, sine 90 is 1, so magnetic field will be equal to mu naught I by 4 pi S at this point P. And the magnetic field at the center of a n-sided regular polygon is given by B will be equal to n into mu naught I by infinite formula, this thing, 2 pi S into sine pi by n. N is the number of sides, S is the perpendicular distance between the center and that side. You will look at a problem and you will understand this. I am not giving the derivations because we already have a lot to learn. Here we have a problem. A conducting wire is in the shape of a regular hexagon, which is inscribed inside an imaginary circle of radius r, that is r is the radius of the circle. A current I flows through the wire in this direction, like this. We have to find the magnitude of the magnetic field at the center of this circle, let's say at this point C. So we just saw the formula that the magnetic field at the center of a regular n-sided polygon is given as n into mu naught I by 2 pi S sine pi by n. where this S is the perpendicular distance between the side and the center. N is the number of sides. Here we are having sides are 6. So the value of N will be 6. So we'll have here sine pi by 6 is equal to 1 by 2. Now we have to find the value of S. So this radius is this distance from center to here is R. The distance from here to here is also R. So that is, this is also the radius, which is R. S is this distance. This distance is S. We have to find this distance. Now since this is a hexagon, we know all of these triangles are having angles here 60 degrees. So this angle becomes 30 degree. And then we are having here cos 30. Cos 30 will be equal to adjacent side upon hypotenuse, S by R. So S will be equal to R cos 30, and that will be equal to R into root 3 by 2. Put the value in the magnetic, in this formula, B will be equal to N, that is 6, into mu naught, the current I is I, 2 pi S, S is R, into root 3 by 2. Into sine pi by N, sine pi by 6, that is 1 by 2. 2 and 2 cancels, 2 3s are 6, answer is root 3 mu naught I by pi R. This is the magnetic field at the center here due to this current which is flowing on this regular hexagon. Now, knowing the magnetic field due to infinite wire, let's now try to find the magnetic force between two infinite wires. Let's take this direction as the x, y and the z axis. I am taking case 1 in which we are having two infinite wires carrying a current I in the same direction, and they are separated by a distance d. Sorry, here we are having current I1, here we are having current I2. But the direction of both the currents is same and they are separated by a distance t. Then we also know the magnetic force is given by I integration dl cross B. So the magnetic force on the first wire due to the second one will be equal to I1 integration dl1, because we are calculating the force on the first one. So with the current on the first one, the length of the first one cross the magnetic field which is produced by the second wire. This is F1 bar. So this comes out. So if I consider only the magnitude, that will be equal to I. We know B2 magnetic field we just saw due to infinite wire is given by mu naught I by 2 pi. The perpendicular distance here is D. So B2 will give me mu naught I2 divided by 2 pi D integration dl1. So here since it is infinite, this force will come infinite. So instead let's calculate the force per unit length, that is F1 upon L1, something like this. That will be equal to mu naught, this thing, mu naught I1 I2 divided by 2 pi D. This is the force acting on wire F1 due to the current I2. But what is the direction of this force? For that we are going to use the right hand thumb rule. Since I am calculating the force due to the second wire, the thumb points in the direction of the current and the fingers curl around will give us the direction of the magnetic field. So my current is upwards, I'll curl my fingers. You can see that this is coming out of the page, right? As I turn like this, my fingers are coming out of the page. So here this is outwards. So the magnetic field due to I2 at I1 is coming out of the page. Out means in the x hat direction. So B2 is in the x hat direction. DL1 is the same direction as I1, which is upwards, which is z hat direction. So what is z cross x? Z cross x will be y hat direction. So the force F1 is along y hat direction. That means this F1 is force which causes the wire I1 to move towards the right, y hat, towards the right. Now let's calculate the force on this second wire due to the first one. So F2 will be equal to I2 integration dl2 cross the magnetic field which is produced by the first wire. This magnitude will come out to be I2. B1 is mu naught I1 divided by 2 pi, perpendicular distance is d, integration dl2. Again we'll find F2, which is force per unit length, and that will be mu naught I1 I2 divided by 2 pi d. You can see the magnitude of force is same on both the wires. Now let's find the direction here. To find the direction of B1, I'll take my thumb straight in the direction of the current and curl my fingers, which this curling of my fingers will give me the direction of magnetic field. So you can see at I2 my fingers are going into the page. So here this is going to be, B1 is going to be inside. That means minus x hat direction. dl2 is same as I2, which is upwards. This is z hat direction. What is z cross minus x? That is minus y hat direction. Minus y hat means left side. So this force is acting towards the left. So one important conclusion we reach here is that if the current in both the wires is in the same direction, the force is attractive. This one is moving here and I2 is moving here. This is attractive. Case 2 is when the directions of currents are opposite. So if we had two wires, here we are having the current which is moving upwards and here we are having the current which is moving downwards. Same I1, same I2 separated by a distance d. I leave this up to you, but the conclusion you will reach in this case, this is our second case, is that when the currents are in the opposite directions, the force is repulsive. That means the force acting on I1 will be along this direction and force acting on the second wire will be along that direction. So when the current is in the same direction, the force is attractive, and when the current is in the opposite direction, the force is repulsive. Let's come back to magnetic field now. The Biot-Savart law, which we saw for steady line current, was B will be equal to mu naught I by 4 pi integration dl bar cross r hat upon r square. Now for surface currents, the formula will become mu naught upon 4 pi integration k bar cross r hat upon r square dA. K is surface current density. And for volume currents, this will become mu naught upon 4 pi integration j bar cross r hat upon r square d tau. Now we will find the magnetic field on the axis of a circular coil of radius r, which is carrying a current I, let's say in the anti-clockwise direction. And we have to find the magnetic field on this axis. Let's say at some distance z at this point P. So the magnetic field, the formula is mu naught I by 2 r squared upon z squared plus r squared the whole raised to 3 by 2. Z is this distance between the point and the center here. But if z was equal to 0, that means we have to find the magnetic field at this point now. Then in that case, the magnetic field will be equal to mu naught I by 2r. And due to any curve element, the magnetic field is equal to mu naught I by 2r. Same thing, just multiply one more term, theta upon 2 pi. Theta is an angle which is like this. Let's say if we are finding about magnetic field produced only because of this quarter quarter part of the ring. So then this angle here comes out to be pi by 2. So that is equal to theta. We'll look at a problem. In this question, we have an infinite conducting wire. That means it goes on and on, which is bent in the shape of a hairpin. It is like this, curved, okay, where this radius A is equal to, where this distance is, radius is A. We have to find the magnetic field which is produced at this point P. So what we can do is divide the entire given figure into 3 different parts. We'll consider this, we'll divide it from here. This is my part 1, this is my part 2, and this is my part 3. The current is coming like this. So the magnetic field due to the first part is nothing but the magnetic field at the edge of a semi-infinite wire. So this, due to first part, the magnetic field will be equal to, at the point P, is mu naught I by 4 pi, the distance, perpendicular distance from this edge to the point P, that is A, 4 pi A. And the magnetic field, what is the direction? The current is in this direction. Curl your fingers at point P. My fingers are coming out of the page, so the magnetic field is outwards. Due to the second part, this one, we'll use the same formula, which is because of the semi-infinite wire, at the edge of a semi-infinite wire, which will be mu naught I by 4 pi A. And again, the direction will be, the current is in this direction. Curl your fingers at point P. My fingers are coming out, and therefore the direction of magnetic field at point P due to this second part is also outwards. Now we have this part left. This is the formula which we just saw. Because of any curved element that we saw, formula is equal to, that formula was mu naught I by 2r theta upon 2 pi. Now here the curved element makes a total angle 180 degrees. So the theta value will be equal to 180. Radius r is A, so this value will be A. Formula comes out mu naught I by 2A, 180 is pi, pi and pi cancels, we'll have mu naught I by 4A. Now what is the direction of this magnetic field? Whether it goes inside, outside, or which direction? For this, I'll take my same thing. Now instead of pointing my thumb towards the direction of current, I'll curl my fingers in the direction of current, and my thumb will give me the direction of magnetic field. The current is going like this. I'll curl it like this. My thumb is pointing outwards. So the magnetic field at point P is also outwards. I hope you understood that. So since it is dot dot dot, all of are coming in the same direction, we can add all of that and we'll get B will be B at point P will be this plus this plus this. That will be mu naught I by 2 pi A plus mu naught I by 4A. And if we consider that A is equal to 1 centimeter, which will be 10 raised to minus 2 meters, and the current is 1 amperes, then this formula will be mu naught upon 2 pi into 10 raised to minus 2 plus mu naught upon 4 into 10 raised to minus 2. Mu naught is 4 pi into 10 raised to minus 7. I have 4 pi into 10 raised to minus 7 divided by 10 raised to minus 2 into 4, we'll have 2 by pi plus 1. So that will be 4 and 4 cancels, we'll have pi into 10 raised to minus 5 into 1.636. Solving this, we'll get 0.514 into 10 raised to minus 4 Tesla. We saw 1 Tesla is 10 raised to 4 Gauss. So this will be 0.514 Gauss. So this is the magnetic field which is produced at this center because of this current, entire current element. the magnetic field on the axis of a solenoid with n turns per unit length is given as B will be equal to mu naught Ni by 2 cos theta 2 minus cos theta 1. So this is the magnetic field which is produced by a finite solenoid with n turns per unit length. Theta 1 is that near angle and theta 2 is this far angle. If we had a solenoid of infinite length, this was finite, then the magnetic field will be theta 1 will go in that direction. So theta 1 will become 180 and theta 2 will become 0. And then cos pi is minus 1, cos 0 is 1, and the formula will be B will be equal to mu naught Ni by 2, 1 minus minus plus 1. So that will be mu naught Ni. This is the magnetic field at the axis of a solenoid of infinite length, where I is the current which is flowing through the solenoid, n is the number of turns per unit length of the solenoid. Now outside the infinite solenoid, at any other points other than the axis, like some point here, some point here, if this is an infinite solenoid, some point here or some point here, some point here, then at that point the magnetic field will be 0. If we want to find the magnetic field due to a toroid, then what? Toroid is sort of like a donut and the coils are wound like this. Let's say n is the total number of turns here, not number of turns per unit length but the total number of turns. Then the magnetic field will be equal to mu naught Ni by 2 pi s phi hat. The magnetic field is circumferential, it is phi hat. This is the magnetic field for points inside the coil, that means at some point here. For points outside the coil, that means in this region and in this region, the magnetic field is 0. Here we have a problem which says a short solenoid with n turns per unit length has diameter capital T and length L, which is 8d by 15. This length is 8d by 15 and it carries a current I. The magnetic field at this point P on the axis of the solenoid at a distance h, which is equal to 2d by 3. This h distance is 2d by 3 from its near end is. That means you have to find the magnetic field at point P. H is the distance from this end to the point P and L is the total length of the solenoid. Now we know the formula. Magnetic field due to a solenoid is equal to, finite solenoid is mu naught Ni by 2 cos theta 2 minus cos theta 1. Theta 2 is the far angle, theta 1 is the near angle. So this near angle is theta 1, this far angle is theta 2. And this distance, only half of this, that is the radius, half of this distance is d by 2. So we know n is already given, number of turns per unit length, current is I. We have to find what is cos theta 2 and we have to find what is cos theta 1. So you can see cos theta 1 will be equal to adjacent side, that is h, divided by hypotenuse, let's call this distance x. And cos theta 2 is equal to again this adjacent side, which is entire length, right? So h plus L, divided by this hypotenuse, which is y. So what is h plus L now? H plus L will be, h is 2d by 3, L is 8d by 15 and this comes out to be 6d by 5. What is the value of x? X is the hypotenuse here, so that will be root of h square plus d square by 4 or d by 2 the whole square. and this value comes out to be 5d by 6. Put the value of h, which is 2d by 3, and then take the root by everything, we'll get 5d by 6. And the value of y, which is this entire distance, is equal to root of h plus l the whole square plus d square by 4. Put the value of h plus l here, squaring and then taking the root, we'll get this value to be 13d by 10. So I'll put the value of x and y in this equation, and I'll have cos theta 1 is equal to h, which is 2d by 3, divided by x, which is 5d by 6, and this gives me 4 by 5. And cos theta 2, which is h plus l, 6d by 5, divided by y, 13d by 10, and this gives me 12 by 13. Put both of this value in this equation and we'll get the value of magnetic field as mu naught Ni into 4 divided by 65. This is the magnetic field at this point P. And we'll stop here now. In the next part, we will begin with Ampere's circuital law. Peace be upon you.